Hi everyone, this is truly yours, Artur Neiksans, Grandmaster from Latvia. This time I've decided to do my broadcast on a more professional level because previously I tried to use the Facebook Live new function, but it's quite limited and the quality is quite bad, so I decided to do it on a more pro level. So I hope you'll try this my new attempt to make it more enjoyable. Last weekend I was playing in a tournament in Estonia, honoring the 100th birthday of Estonian chess legend Paul Keres. The tournament was quite strong. It gathered pretty much some of the best Estonian grandmasters, namely Kaido Kulots and Jan Elvest. And yeah, so I played quite alright. I had not played in rapid tournaments for quite some time. I had just returned from a trip around Europe, so I was pretty much physically tired and I was curious how I will perform. Well, the result was quite surprising for me. I managed to score after 7 rounds exactly 7 points, basically already winning the tournament, so I made a quick draw in the last round, securing the first place. And I thought it would be interesting to share with you some of the critical moments of the games. So let's try the first game. It wasn't particularly difficult because, well, I played against not a very strong girl. So I had minor difficulties in this game. So the game continued like this. All of this is quite standard stuff. White did not play in the best manner. So I think this is quite an interesting moment. Usually these kinds of structures, people tend to play knight b to d7, then play e6, e5. But I figured out that knight c6 is positioned better because it stops the a4, a5 advance. And I want to play knight a5, c5, and bishop a6 myself. So the game continues something like this, bishop a3. So knight a5 now obviously is impossible because of bishop b4 and my idea doesn't work. So I just continued to play normally. I left white with some weaknesses and my opponent in a worse position blundered the pawn. Here she should have continued to play d5, which I had anticipated. I want to play knight e7, a5, f5. And I thought this is just a much better position for me because the bishop is stranded on b4. It doesn't do anything. So, yeah, but my opponent made a mistake. She played rook e1, and I just snatched the pawn and quite quickly won the game. So the rest of the game was quite an easy technique. The next game was more interesting, because I was playing against one of the youngest talents in Estonia, Kirill Chukavin. Actually, I had made a draw against him recently in a tournament in Viljandi, honoring the 50th year since organizing the memorial tournament for yet another Estonian chess legend, Ilmar Raud. I played against him in the first round, and even though I was having huge advantage at many points during the game, I could not win the game. So this game felt some sort of redemption for failing to win that game, so I was quite motivated to win it. So there was an interesting moment that after the opening, actually I quite like this line for white. Here queen b6 is considered to be the main move, but my opponent, I was under impression, did not know it. He played queen c7 and I started to improvise quite early. I got a big advantage, even though knight d2 here was not the best. I think I should have gone for the Morozzi structure, c4 and knight c3, but I wanted to try out something new. I mean, this is still a rapid game, so I went directly to attack the weakness on b6. So the game went pretty much forced. White is already significantly better, and here my young opponent made error in judgment. He figured out that f5 followed by e5 should be alright for him, because he can try to reposition his knight from g6 through e7 to d5, but this doesn't work. I mean, he'll never get the time. So that's why he now play rook e8 or rook d8, it doesn't matter. I play immediately c4, and there is no way he'll manage to put the knight on d5. And here he realized that he is basically forced to go for a passive defense. And I figured out that the only chance for my opponent here for some active play would be to play g7, g5. In a classic game, if I would have more time, I would have prepared it more properly. I would have played here rook c2. Because now, after g5, what pretty much happened in the game, I can play g4. And my rook on c2 can easily jump to g2, attacking the black king. I had the same idea. As a matter of fact, at some moment, black can threaten to play queen c7 to a5 and target the a2 pawn. It's not a big deal, but I mean, I did not want any risk in this game. So I played b3. But rook c2 actually would have been the same idea, only with a better outcome. So I played b3. My opponent played g5 and I played g4. He obviously did not expect it. So he took here, here, here. And here I just should have made some accurate moves, probably something like rook c to d1 followed by rook d5. And I think that white is having a huge advantage here. But I made a small blunder. I played bishop g3 and I just missed bishop g5. So the point is he is attacking my rook. And I cannot retreat with the rook because there's also yet another threat, f5, f4. But I figured out it's not a big deal. I mean, okay, I have to sacrifice now the exchange, even though I had not planned it. And I figured out that I should not be worse. Because I have two powerful bishops, he has a weakened king. The only thing I have to be careful about is not to exchange the queens. So this is what my opponent was trying to do here. And here he missed some nice tactics, that after rook d8, I can play rook d5. So obviously he cannot twice take on d5 because of the bishop c4 threat. So he played king h8 just in case. Maybe I should have taken the pawn. I decided not to. I decided to play for the initiative, to play for domination. And here after knight d7, I probably made a mistake, but it was very difficult not to sacrifice yet another exchange, so I played queen d3. Yeah. So knight d5 takes, and it appears to be that white is down the whole rook, but as a matter of fact, I have a very powerful two bishops, very strong pawn center, quite exposed black king, so I figured out for a rapid tournament, this should be good enough. I mean, for a classic tournament, for a classic game, I would think twice for making such a sacrifice. But I arrived to this tournament. I wanted to play some quality chess. I wanted to enjoy these games. So I figured out that this continuation is more to the spirit of how I feel today. So my opponent played queen g4, e6. And I had anticipated that he'll play rook f4, which is actually a mistake. He should have played queen g7, and it's not very clear how white can actually proceed. Even though I thought that it should be quite a zero risk for me, because I want to prepare the idea queen e3, bishop goes here, and something like bishop e5, or maybe bishop e5 even earlier. So that's why my opponent played rook f4. He wants to reposition the rook on d4, but he just missed that after bishop g2, here there's a check. And after king g8, I just grab the rook, and he cannot take here because I just exchange. I go e7, d6, followed by bishop c6, and I should easily win the game. I even can try to avoid to queen immediately. Let's say something like king f7, here, something like here, 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 and I just drag my king to d3, I take the pawn on d4, and I can queen myself whenever I wish. So this should be winning. So I was quite excited about this variation during the game. It's not very often when you can sacrifice two exchanges in a row and have such a powerful pawn center. Yeah, and if he takes with the pawn here, I just push e7 and d6. So I thought it should be winning. I mean, I'm threatening various threats. d7, somewhere queen g3, so I was not too much concerned about it. So my opponent, quite surprisingly for me, after bishop takes on d4, he took on d5. I did not expect it, but I was not overly concerned because I immediately saw e7, takes, and just bishop e3. Very calm move, and there is no continuation for black. He cannot expose my sort of vulnerable king, and I just went on to win the game. So this was quite a nice game. It gave me some more confidence that I can play well. So I went on to crush my opponent in the next game. My next opponent, if I'm not mistaken, is a candidate master, a very experienced player with whom I had played when I was much younger. I was born in Valka, a border town with Estonia, so I did play quite a lot of tournaments in Estonia. So Sergei Neff was one of the experienced candidate masters I was facing back then. So if I remember correctly, I had lost against him a few times. So yet again, this felt like a nice way to repay him for some of the losses in the past. So my opponent very quickly showed me that he doesn't want any theoretical struggle. I was alright with that. I think that here, this is quite a strange way for white to develop pieces in this order. Usually, after bishop g5, e6, white plays e4, and after h6 he takes on f6 and tries to gain something from his center. Here I figured out that after my opponent has played knight f3, after h6 he probably won't take on f6. So that's why I included h6 at this moment. I wanted him to retreat, so that later for him taking on f6 will be a waste of tempo. So I just continued to play quite a normal way. All of this is quite standard. e5, e4, knight h5. And I figured out this position to be equal, and already here I was eyeing for the idea that I want to take on d4 at some moment and play c5 to make a good use of my bishop. So normally he would have to play something like d5 to close my bishop, and then try to exchange the white squared bishops through a6 and leave me with the bad bishop. But I would not allow it. I don't know, I would either play a6 and then perhaps something like g6, h5, bishop g7, knight f6. So I thought this is quite a right position for me. Very easy to play. But my opponent here made a mistake, a small inaccuracy. He played bishop a6 immediately. So I just take here, and now I grab on d4. Maybe knight d4 here was better for white. He took with the pawn, and now I play c5. So that's the whole point. If he takes with the pawn, I take with the knight. Queen b5, queen d7, takes, king d7, and I figured out that white's pawns on b2 and e4 are quite vulnerable, so I should be much better here. Yes, he played knight c4, one of the moves which I had anticipated, so I just made a castle. If he now takes on d6, I simply take c takes on d4 followed by knight c5. The white king is stuck in the center, so I thought I should be much better here. So obviously my opponent tries to close the game, to close the position. And after knight e5 he pretty much already made a decisive mistake. I had anticipated for him to play knight e3, after which I'm probably forced to play something like g6, I don't know. He cannot take here because of bishop g5. And I think I'm enjoying a very good position, even though I've sacrificed a pawn. But my opponent made a mistake. He took here, rook b1, oblivious of my threats, and now I just play f5 without thinking. So the point is, I was even thinking for some funny variations, even though they are not necessary. After f5, I thought, okay, I can sacrifice the piece here. So takes and takes. So the king is stuck in the center. There's the threat, queen takes on g3. So after something like queen to a3, e3, here e2, this should be crushing. I mean, I did not spend too much time. Yeah, but I mean the sacrifice even is not forced, because after f4 I can just retreat with the bishop and win the material. So my opponent made a short castle here, and I found a very good move here, f4. The point is, if he takes, I have a nice choice between bishop takes on f4 and simply win a pawn. I take on d2 and take on e4, or I just go checkmate my opponent with rook takes on f4. So my opponent played g4. The first thought for me here was that I thought, okay, maybe I can try to play something like queen h4 and grab the pawn somehow, because f3 is pretty much impossible because of bishop d4. But then I thought, he'll play knight f3, I'll take here, here, and I still have to prove this. I mean, okay, I have an extra pawn, but this is a long game. I mean, somehow I don't feel so confident that it will be so easy. So, and then I noticed this f3 move, which got me yet again excited, so I went for it. So it's quite easy actually. Takes, I sacrifice an exchange, queen h4, there's a checkmate threat on h2, rook d1, rook e1, it doesn't matter, and here's the most beautiful move, queen h3, and bishop h2, bishop g3, the threat is impossible to parry. There's either checkmate on f2 or checkmate on f1. So if my opponent plays something like queen e2, I just checkmate him on h1. If my opponent plays something like queen to d3, I go for this variation. So there is checkmate on f2. If white here plays f4, it doesn't change anything, I just take the pawn. And something like rook to d3, not to get the checkmate immediately, I just grab the rook. So my opponent resigned. So this was quite a nice miniature. I finished the game very quickly, in something like 5 minutes, maybe even quicker. The time control for the tournament was, what was it? 15 minutes plus 3 seconds if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. So yeah, so we finished the game very quickly, 3 points out of 3, even more confidence. The next game was, well, I think quite easy, because I got a very good position after the opening. It was against quite the experienced Estonian Grandmaster Igor Shveryov. I love this line totally for white. I don't understand why black actually plays this. It's quite easy, quite straightforward. Long castle, just attack on the center, queen a5. King b1 is quite standard, b5. And here I probably employed not the best variation, but I was still considering this is a rapid tournament. So after knight h6, I had planned something else, but I decided, okay, let's exchange queens, even though I figured out that this is not the best continuation. So basically it will be zero risk for me. I'll just play for the weaknesses. Black has weakened his queenside, so there are some threats for me to play h3 and g4, or c4, or take on d6, knight e4. So multiple threats. The black pieces are not very well coordinated, so my opponent collapsed quite quickly, even though the position for him is more or less alright. Yes, h5 was not probably the best move here, and after knight h6, here was a funny moment. I play rook e1, and I had planned that my threat is here to play to take on d6, and after my opponent played knight d5, I forgot about it. It happens quite rarely. Here, of course, I should have taken d6, e6, knight e5 should be very close to crushing position, because there is no way that black can regain the pawn on d6. Rook c8 obviously is impossible because of d7. Oh, but okay, I was not too much concerned that I missed. Of course, I played here g3, and I immediately noticed that I missed this idea to take on d6, but I thought, okay, no problem. So I here decided to play on a weakness. So I figured out the best weakness for me to attack is c6. So I just moved all my pieces for that weakness and won the game quite easily. It's quite unclear for black what to do. So king a1, I just want to play bishop a2, protect the b2 pawn, and just grab on c6, and that's it. Okay, f6 was a big mistake, but I mean the position is already quite difficult. And the funny thing here is that I'm not actually forced to take the exchange. I can choose how I want. And here I still took the exchange, but only for the knight, not for the bishop. So all my threats on taking on c6, taking on d5, the dangerous spin, they remain. So the end position was quite crushing here. So basically black is paralyzed, white is pretty much up huge amounts of material, so I just made a couple of call moves and my opponent just resigned. So of course there's nothing to do here. So yet another easy victory for me. Yet another boost for the confidence. The next game, I already was, if I remember correctly, one of the leaders. I was having 4 points out of 4. So I was giving to play against the usually aggressive playing Ilya Vovk with black. So obviously my task was here try to play for the win, even though I'm black. Because if I start to make draws, then it's very hard to fight for the first place. And in the tournament there were about 100 participants, so you have to be very aggressive. You have to fight for every game with every color, and only that's how sometimes you can fight for the first place. Yeah, and here I also employed the same idea which I had analyzed in the recent Knight Memorial. The point is that after knight f3, not e6 but d6, the main move here is d takes on e5, but there black experiences 0 problems. He took on e5, and I just play knight c6. Very easy. Easily equalizing the game. I'll just mention here that bishop b5 is impossible because of queen f5. Thank you for the extra piece. So that's the point. So he has to take on c6, and there's nothing. I mean, actually I thought during the game that I already might be slightly better, because the pawn on b4, I thought it's more vulnerable than my weakness on c6. And I was here quite proud about the queen b6 move. I do not protect my pawns, but on the other hand, I attack the weakness in the white's rank. So I was expecting something like, okay, bishop takes on d5 probably is not so good because I just play queen d6. Bishop f4 is impossible. It's not very hard to calculate. Because of bishop b7, there's a checkmate on g2, and I just take the bishop on b8. Oh, wait, there's queen g3. Oh no, sorry, there's no queen g3. Yes, sometimes the chessboard is playing tricks with my eyes. Of course, yes, so knight d5, queen d6, this is just bad for white. I also thought about bishop f4 here, but I mean, I can just play rook b7 here and queen takes on d4. I have 2 bishops and no weaknesses, so I thought this should be better for me. There was also an option for him, which he actually played in the game, take, and now play bishop f4. So I thought the minimum variation, which I always have, is rook b7 here and rook d7. So I regained the material with interest. So yeah, so my opponent decided to grab the pawn, which probably was not the best choice he could have done. And I very quickly seized the initiative. Here already I'm much better. And I was having some funny variations here. That after rook takes on e7, here, there's a very nice continuation, queen takes on b3. Checkmate. Of course, it's very obvious. He was not planning to take on e7, but I like the idea. So he played bishop e3, e6 is a normal move. Queen a3 is quite a strange move here, but okay. And here I made a mistake. After rook d1, I don't know, somehow my attention, I skipped this move. Bishop takes on e3. So the point is, he cannot take on d7 because of bishop f2. He cannot take here because of, if I remember correctly, Was it this move? No, not here. Sorry, not here. So I can always just attack on e3. Well, there was some sort of continuation. Sorry, I don't remember, but the strongest move here was taken on e3. In some variations there was a sacrifice on b3 yet again, but I just automatically played rook d8. And here I got this very nice position. The white's pieces are so awkwardly positioned. This is the proper color. I'm having multiple threats, rook d2, rook f4. And here quite a small funny situation happened that I play queen b5, which is actually a big mistake. Because my opponent did not notice, and I also did not notice, that he can play rook e6. Yes, and suddenly it appears that I think there's either a checkmate or something. I don't know. It feels like a checkmate. I don't know. f4 or h4. I mean, I don't believe these kinds of positions. So should be a checkmate. h4 and queen h6 at least. I mean, I just blundered this, so I cannot take it. And the point is that I have to escape now, and I don't know, in some kind of a counter attack, because actually it is white now who is attacking me. Well, these kinds of wonders can only happen in a rapid game. I mean, usually I do spot them in a classic game. So, okay, it was a mutual mistake. I made a mistake, he didn't notice it. So I went on to win the game quite easily. Even though I did make a mistake, here I made a check. I should just grab the exchange. And now I took it, and only to blunder bishop and f7 move. It was a time trouble for me, also for him, but I was lucky to find the winning continuation also in this variation. So there's nothing white can do, and I just get a winning position. So 5 out of 5, already the sole leader of the tournament. On the next game, I was giving the very tough international master Tarvo Semen, with whom I could not score a single victory for the longest time, with the exception of the last Finnish Team Championships, where I scored a very important win for me, because I all the time kept playing draws against him. So I don't know, I cannot win him. So it was very important for me to win, and this was the second consecutive win for me in a row against him. And he made a mistake, I think already here. So I get a very good Morozzi bind structure, which I know quite well. So he was surprised for me to see the c4 move. So all of these moves are quite known for me. I know this variation very well. Very easy to play, very comfortable. And here I had anticipated for him to play e6. That's why I did not play rook f to c1, but rook d1. And here he made a mistake already after queen h4, queen d6. He has to play knight d7. Here I rushed a bit. I rushed a bit because I played knight d5 here. I played knight d5, which appears to be not the best move. I should have continued simply something like a3, b4, but yet again, let me remind you, this is a rapid tournament. So if you see a move like knight d5, you are very much tempted to do it. So the point is, takes. He had a move knight b8, which I did not see. The point is, takes, and he has some chances to escape here. Even though I think white should be still better here, because I have a more powerful bishop on c4, but he'll get this nice position for the knight on d4. Yeah, well, but my opponent did not play it, so I was already crushing him after like, I don't know, 20, 25 moves. So he continued to play this game for a long time. I was a bit annoyed because I was easily winning, and usually these kinds of positions people resign. I was having 3 extra pawns, but well, he was fighting it until the end, so it did not take too much time for me to win the game. I was just being very careful. I tried to avoid various tactical ideas. So shortly after some moves, he finally resigned. 6 out of 6. So I'm already clearly leading the tournament, and I was quite lucky that my two main competitors, Jan Elvest and Kaido Kolots, they made 2 draws respectively in the 3rd and 4th round, so which gave me a quite big advantage against them. So while they were struggling and trying to catch me up, I was just scoring one victory after another. So basically, before the last round, they could not already catch me. And in the penultimate round, I was given to play against one of the surprises of the tournament. I probably imagine he's experienced candidate master from Parnu. I was given black, so I was having at the moment 6 points out of 6. He was having 5.5. So I have to win. I mean, there is no draw. Obviously, I'm playing for the win. And yet again, I employed this nice trick, a4, which is quite a common trick, but my opponent did not know it. The thing is, he cannot take queen b4 because of knight c6, queen b5, rook a5, checkmate. Yes, so all of that is very nice. I mean, but the main point is not to try to lure white in this variation, but to gain control on the b3 square. So he has to retreat. And now, in some variations, I can try to reposition my knight through c6, a5 to b3. Or d7, d6, knight d7, at some point in the future, knight c5, knight b3. So that's the whole point. So I got a very comfortable position, very easy to play. So I would imagine here at some moment my opponent decided he had enough of this game and tried to play for the draw. But the thing is, he cannot do it. I mean, his king is very much exposed, even though there is limited material. Let's say if he would continue to play something like bishop f1, it's very easy for me. I'll just position the rook here, the bishop here, and the march of the pawns. I just start to kill white. So he decided to play f3 with the idea of e4, and he just missed queen e7. He cannot play e4 because of f5, and he is losing material. So he has to play rook d3 here and here. This was a very interesting moment. I realized that I'm much better. This is a critical game for me, of course, because I mean, 2 leaders playing against each other. I have half a point more, but I realized that there's one more round. So if I make a draw, my first place is still not secure, so I have to win. So this position is risk-free. I play for the win, obviously, but I do not see a direct continuation. So what do I have to do? I'll make a waiting move. I play a move which I'll find useful anyway. So I'm setting a small trap. I was thinking, what kind of move would white want to make here? So I thought, rook c2. So if here he plays rook c2, the point is that I give a check here and take on e3. Surprise. Yes, that was the trap which my opponent unfortunately didn't fall into. I thought it's quite a nice trap because rook c2 feels like a normal move. If my opponent would play something like g3 to protect against various checks on h4, I plan to play h5, h4, and this is a weakness for me to attack. So I was pretty much waiting for a move. So he decided to play bishop f1, which is an alright move. I decided to just repeat the moves to see maybe something changes, and something did. So he played e4, so I was quite happy about that, because now I get the e file. And here my opponent made a mistake. He played queen d4, and I found a very nice sacrifice. Boom. The point is, I want to play queen g5, queen takes on c1, and I win an extra pawn. Here I thought he has to play c5, and I'm much better, but it's probably not much more. So the game went to a technical phase, so I managed to win the game quite easily. I don't remember the exact continuation of the game. I somehow managed to exchange the bishops and the rooks, and I just went on for a winning pawn endgame, so my opponent immediately resigned. So 7 out of 7, already winning the tournament. The last round against Jan Elves with white, I quickly made the draw. I won the tournament. Easy peasy Japanesey. Yes, not very often it happens, but I'm very glad it did. So I think this was a good tournament for my preparation for the Liepājas Rukade tournament, and most importantly, the Chess Olympiad. Of course, there's also the Riga Technical University Open, but the most important tournament this year is the Olympiad, where I want to play very well. I want really to score some good wins to help our national team to win some good opponents. And yeah, I hope that my good form will continue also in Liepāja. My plan is to get there in the Super Tournament, which I plan to win this year. I think I should do it finally. And then I plan to win the Riga Technical University Open. So I'm very positively attuned, so I hope it will happen. I've worked very hard, so I hope that my wishes will come true. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this short overview of the rapid tournament in Parnu, honoring the 100-year birthday of the Estonian chess legend Paul Keres, and probably see you next time. Thank you.